Mama, welcome to the Mrs. Mummy PhD podcast. I am your host, Dr. Michelle Gibbs, and this podcast exists to help scholarly mamas like you to achieve your life and academic goals without sacrificing what matters most. Here, we're changing the overwhelm, juggle-struggle narrative around what it means to be a mama on an academic journey to one of empowerment, fulfillment, and purposeful success. So how do we successfully navigate these journeys? Well, first, we need the space to embrace this unique blend. Let's begin by saying yes to creating a life that feels as good on the inside as it looks on the outside, because that's when we truly become purposefully whole. So get ready for the most non-traditional, unconventional, and revolutionary approach to PhD motherhood, because one thing I have learned over my many years of experience on this journey is that if you want something different, you have to do something different. But you must be brave enough to think differently first. So, Mama, are you in? Fabulous! Let's begin. These are our journeys of becoming. Hey Mama, welcome back to the podcast. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for tuning in. And if you are a seasonal regular listener, thank you too for tuning in. If you are a mama who's doing a PhD, you're not just working on a PhD, right? You are holding a vision. You are raising a family. You are chasing a dream, and you're doing all of these things simultaneously. And let's be real, some days it feels like it's too much. Other days, maybe you feel that you can conquer the world, but some days it feels like too much, like you're stretched so thin trying to be the present mama and the fully committed PhD student and all that, wondering whether you are doing enough, wondering whether you yourself are enough, whether you can even see this journey through. So if you've ever felt that kind of weight, you're not alone. That's exactly why I created this episode. I want to share today 10 affirmations. You can put them on your computer, you can hang them on the wall, you can put them somewhere to help you, but really they are meant to be reminders on those really hard days and those really hard moments when doubt begins to creep in and when the load feels really heavy, that you can do this, that you are doing this, you are in the process of doing this, and you don't have to carry all of it on your own. And just a quick note before we dive in this episode, I'm going to share 10 really powerful affirmations, and I hope that they encourage you and they support you and motivate you and remind you of who you are. But it's not a substitute for mental health or medical advice. If you're feeling overwhelmed, feeling like you need deeper support, please reach out to a qualified therapist, because you absolutely deserve that kind of care as well. So with that said, let's dive into the episode. I hope you enjoy it. And if you do, make sure you leave a kind review at the end of the episode and maybe even share it with a friend. And let's get into the episode. We are carrying so much of a load, trying to prove our worth by doing it all, doing the most, doing all the things, and also doing it all alone, right? Carrying this whole load by ourselves and feeling this need to be the strong one, to be the one that kind of just soldiers on. But so often that silent message of, having to do all the things and push through and be strong, and it's kind of what leads to our demise almost. And I feel like as mamas with PhDs or as mamas doing PhDs, we really do live at the intersection of two very demanding worlds. And each of those worlds comes with its own package of expectations, of perfection, of sacrifice, of self-denial. And while we're doing PhDs, for those of you who are still doing your PhD, we're expected to be this kind of hyper-productive, intellectually sharp, always, pushing through, publishing, pushing, doing the most, doing the best, being the best. And in motherhood, likewise, we're also expected to be doing the best and doing the most and endlessly nurturing, endlessly being present and being patient and available for our families. And somewhere in between all of that, we're told, well, you chose this path, didn't you? So now you've got to prove that you can handle it because you chose this path for yourself. So what do? We push harder. We silence our exhaustion. We hide our tears between presentations, deadlines, papers, publications, and bedtime and toddler tantrums and all the rest of things. We hide our tears between all of those things that we're doing and all the busyness of all of that. And we internalize the guilt of every missed milestone or every missed or unmet deadline. And what we end up carrying isn't just the work of the PhD or the labor of motherhood, but also this invisible weight of feeling like we constantly have to earn our right to belong there. We have to earn our place. And that is where today's episode comes from. This is the reason why I think this type of episode really matters so much. And in this episode, I want to share 10 powerful affirmations to really help you navigate this intersection. These are not fluffy self-help sayings or quotes or anything. They're really anchors. They're anchors and reminders. And they are rebellion against the lie that we have to break ourselves and we have to burn ourselves out in order to belong, in order to fit in order to be where we are. And so today I wanted to share 10 powerful affirmations created specifically and tailored specifically for scholarly mamas like yourself, because they're designed to speak to this real battle, this tug of war, this struggle that we are navigating and that we continue to navigate as scholarly mamas, and the sacred strength of this journey. So whether you are in the middle of writing up your thesis, or you are navigating pregnancy or early motherhood, or maturing as a mama, or just trying to hold it all together, these affirmations are for you. So let's take a breath. Let's take a moment to exhale, because you're not alone in this, and let's get into the episode. So the first affirmation I wanted to share was, I am worthy of this academic journey, even on the hard days. I am worthy of this academic journey, even on the hard days. And I think an affirmation like this is particularly helpful when you are experiencing imposter syndrome, when imposter syndrome shows up, or when you're feeling like you're not making much progress, like progress is really slow. Reminding yourself that you deserve to be there still. You are worthy of this opportunity, even when it's hard. And so I want you to remember this, like write this down on those really hard days, put it on a post-it note and put it in a place that you can easily reference when you are feeling like an imposter, because you are worthy of being there, even when it's hard, even on the hard days. So the second affirmation for scholarly motherhood to carry along with you on this journey is that rest is a form of resistance and resilience. Again, rest does not have to be earned. Rest is productive. Rest is helpful and healthy. Rest is encouraged and desirable. And when you are tempted to overwork on this journey, or when you are feeling guilty for just taking a break, this is an affirmation for you. This is an affirmation to repeat and remember and just reference that rest is a form of resilience and resistance, but also rest is productive. And you can embrace rest without guilt. The third affirmation I have for you today is that my children benefit from seeing me pursue my dreams. And I know this can feel really hard because as moms, we are wired to self-sacrifice. And of course, we want our kids to achieve their goals and achieve their dreams. And we want to see them doing well in life and doing well in their education and their growth and their development. But what about our dreams? When are we prioritizing those? So if you're ever questioning whether you're being a good enough mom, this is an affirmation to remember that your children benefit when they see you pursuing your dreams, when they see you reaching your goals. They benefit from that. And I can tell you that from experience. I think that one of the most powerful lessons that we teach our children is actually not in the spoken word. It's them seeing what we do, them seeing how we navigate our barriers, them seeing how we show up for ourselves when it's hard or when we don't feel like it, but we are still showing up for our own dreams. When they see us reaching and achieving our goals, those are some of the most powerful lessons without you having to say a word. And I can tell you that because my kids have seen me and continue to see me pursue my own dreams. And that has had such a profound impact on their own self-confidence, on their own, their own ambitions. And not that, your dreams and their dreams are going to be the same. Like they may have different dreams for themselves, but what they want to achieve and accomplish. But it's the act of seeing you show up for yours that's really powerful. And so this third affirmation, that my children benefit from seeing me pursue my dreams, I think is a really good one if you are questioning whether you should be pursuing your goals as a mama. The fourth affirmation that I have to share with you today is I don't have to do it all to be doing enough. And I think this is a really good one when you're feeling the pressure to be, 100% mama, 100% scholar, 100% wife, 100% all the things. Like you don't have to be doing all the things all of the time for all the people to be doing enough. Sometimes enough is just enough to get by. It's just the bare minimum you need to do in order to get from one day to the next, in order to get from one task to the next, in order to get from one deadline to the next, in order to get from one hurdle or challenge through to the next. And it's okay to tackle one at a time because you can't do all the things all of the time. And so when you feel that pressure to be doing and juggling everything, remind yourself gently that I don't have to do it all to be doing enough. I am enough. I am doing the best I can, and that's enough. Affirmation 5 is my pace is valid because slow progress is still progress. Now, I can tell you this one is really important because one of the things that a lot of scholarly mamas feel because they are burdened and they get caught up in the comparison trap is that they feel behind. They feel behind others. They feel behind their PhD colleagues. They feel discouraged because they've had additional delays. Something is always happening. Life is happening and there's delays and there's a lot happening in the background. Let's just say that. And I think as a mama, it's very easy to fall into the trap of thinking, I'm slow, I'm behind, I'm not keeping up. And I think to remind ourselves through this affirmation that my pace is valid, my pace is okay. Slow is okay because I am still moving forward. I am still moving in the same direction. I am still making progress. It is important to remind ourselves of this because it is very tempting to feel behind. You are not behind, mama. You are on your journeys of becoming. You're not behind because this is a race of one. You don't have to compete to win. And I know that doesn't feel like, it doesn't feel real because you feel like you're in constant competition with everything. In fact, you feel like you're constant competition with your old self. But you don't have to compete to win this race. This scholarly motherhood journey, you don't have to compete to win this race. This is a race of one. And so allow yourself to pace yourself. Allow yourself to move forward with purpose. Allow yourself to embrace purposeful progress, even if it's slow, even if it is slow. The next affirmation is that boundaries protect my peace and my purpose. So important, especially on days where you feel pressure to say yes when really you want to say no to more than you can actually hold. You know, sometimes we find ourselves in these positions where we want to people please. We don't want to disappoint others. We don't want other people to think that we are not holding up our end of the bargain, that we are not doing what we said we were going to do, that we aren't doing enough, or that we don't deserve to be there. And so we overcompensate by burning our boundaries to the ground. And we say yes to everything. We have zero boundaries. And what happens? We become overwhelmed, feeling in conflict with our values. We feel uneasy. We feel misaligned because we're saying yes to things that naturally we know within our heart we should be saying no to. And don't get me wrong, there are opportunities out there that we should embrace as scholarly members. And I talked about the power of yes and how saying yes to the right things at the right time can really create a freedom within our lives that is unimaginable and that is needed. But boundaries also matter, right? And learning to say no is just as important as learning when to say yes, because your peace matters, your purpose matters, and boundaries help to protect those. So when you are facing that pressure to say yes to everything, when you know you're at capacity, you know that you cannot handle anything else on your plate, then this is an affirmation for you. Boundaries protect my peace and my purpose. Affirmation 7 is I am allowed to ask for help and to receive it. Why is this so hard for us as scholarly mamas? Why is it so hard for us to even admit that we need help? And not just admit that we need help, but actually let that help be given to us, right? Actually receiving that help. And this is a good one when we're feeling overwhelmed, when we're trying to do everything by ourselves, when we are functioning at top capacity, to remember that I am allowed to ask for help. I don't have to carry this burden alone. I don't have to do all of this alone. Remembering that asking for help and admitting that you need help is not an admission of failure. It is not a sign of inadequacy. It is simply sharing the load of this journey with people who want you to win. And if their help is available, accept it, take it, so that you can then function at the level that you need to function at, the things that only you can do. Because not everything that's on your to-do list needs to be done by you. The ironing, that doesn't have to be done by you. The laundry, you don't have to be the only one doing that. Sorting the kids' lunches out for school, you don't have to be the only one. So ask for help and accept it when it's offered. Affirmation 8. My voice, my story, my education matters. My scholarship matters. They all matter. When you are doubting the impact, the significance, the value of your research, I think this is a really good one to remind ourselves that this academic journey matters. This isn't just for me to get a title. This isn't just another degree. This is me lifting my voice. This is me sharing my story. This is me using this opportunity of scholarship to make a difference and have an impact in the world. And if you are doubting the significance or the value of the work that you are doing, Mama, this is the one to remind you that these things matter. And you don't have to be ashamed. You don't have to hide. You don't have to play small. But you can lift as you climb. And you do that by sharing your voice, by sharing your story, and by sharing your scholarship. It matters. The 9th affirmation is, motherhood has made me wiser, not weaker. And again, we carry so much guilt as scholarly mamas because we're constantly apologizing for being who we are. And we don't have to do that anymore. You don't have to feel less than for being a mama. You don't have to feel inadequate because you've got other responsibilities or you've got a life at home that you actually love, that you actually enjoy. The joy of motherhood, you don't have to deny that because that makes you a better scholar. It makes you a better researcher. It makes you a better person. It makes you whole. And you don't have to apologize for being whole. So motherhood is not a weakness. Motherhood is a strength. Motherhood matters. And you don't have to be ashamed of it. I never apologize for being a mom. I never apologize for that. I don't care what academic space I'm in, what professional space I am in. I never apologize or hide the love and joy I have of being a mother, because it is not a weakness. It is a strength of mine. It is a dimension of my life that I am very proud of. And I'm not saying that you have to have the same perspective, because everyone's experience of motherhood and the journey is different. And I get that. But if this is an aspect of your life that you are proud of, and this is an aspect of your life that brings you joy, why should you have to deny that? Why should you have to feel less than because of that? Why should you be embarrassed or ashamed of that? This journey has transformed your life in some way, just like your scholarly journey has. And we don't have to make excuses for that. So why are we making excuses for being mamas? Let's embrace that identity with pride. It's just one of our journeys of becoming. And by the way, it's not our whole self either. Motherhood is just one part of us. So you're allowed to have other dimensions of yourself. You're allowed to pursue other things. You're allowed to have goals and dreams and ambitions and actually go after those things. You are allowed to do that. So let's not apologize for being whole individuals. Let's not apologize for being scholarly mamas. Let's not apologize for being smart, purposeful, and whole. Because those things don't have to be mutually exclusive. They can absolutely coexist. And so the final affirmation that I wanted to share with you is that I am becoming the version of myself I once dreamed of. I read this quote on Instagram recently, and I've seen it before, so I'm not sure exactly who owns this quote, but I've heard so many people say it, that you are literally living an answered prayer. And as I woke up this morning and I was reflecting on this, I was thinking, that is so true. Like, for so long, I have wanted a yes to a postdoctoral research grant, and I have struggled. I've struggled to get that yes. And I felt I put in so much work. I felt like I was so deserving, but I was still not getting that yes. And I woke up this morning in the answered prayer of receiving a yes. And I just had to remind myself that this journey of transformation that I am on is literally an answered prayer. I am becoming the version of myself I once dreamed of. And I think this is a really good affirmation to use when we have lost sight of our why and our future vision. Because sometimes it's in the midst of rejection, in the midst of hardship, in the throes of the juggle-struggle, it is easy to lose sight of that why. It is easy to lose sight of that vision. And so reminding ourselves that we are on journeys of becoming. This is the reason why I always talk about journeys of becoming. Because for me, and this is, I started my blog and my podcast and things before even finishing my PhD. And this was one of the affirmations that I actually used throughout my journey, that I am becoming the version of myself that I see in my vision. And so affirming this throughout my journey has really helped me to reconnect with my why and who I was becoming and what I wanted to do with my journey. And as I reflect on my PhD journey and my post-PhD journey so far, this has been really a key factor for me to keep in my mind, especially when I was losing sight of that why and that vision, especially when I wanted to give up, especially when I wanted to walk away. Reminding myself that I am on a journey, I am navigating a process, and it's okay to trust that process. It's okay to not necessarily see the end point, but trusting that I am taking one step and putting it in front of the other as I navigate my journeys of becoming. And reminding yourself that you are literally an answered prayer from the past. Wherever you're at right now in this journey, you are literally an answered prayer of a past version of yourself. And so let's bask in that. Let's embrace that. Let's remind ourselves of that and the importance of reconnecting with that why. So again, I just wanted to remind you of the importance of affirmations as daily grounding tools, to remind you of who you are, where you are, and where you are going as you continue to navigate your journeys of becoming. So why not pick one of these affirmations each morning? Say it to yourself out loud, write it somewhere, put it on a post-it note, stick it on your computer, and actually just internalize it for that day. And see if it changes anything. See if you can use that as a way of motivating yourself, of encouraging yourself on those hard days. And if you want to keep these affirmations close, I've created a beautifully designed printable version of these just for you that you can just print and have it above your desk or stick it on the fridge or keep it in a journal or take a photo of it and keep it on your phone. Whatever works for you, you can download this on my website, mrsmummyphd.com, because you are not just surviving this PhD. Your whole life, your whole being, your whole essence is being transformed through it. And so continue to navigate your journeys of becoming with purpose. Because when you get to the end of this journey, you look back, you will literally remember that you are living an answered prayer. I hope you found this episode helpful. And as always, I'm sending you lots of love and gratitude. And I will leave a link to this printable download in the show notes so that you can get your copy of it as well. Thanks for tuning in today, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now. Thank you for tuning in to the Mrs. Mummy PhD podcast. I hope you've enjoyed the episode, and if you did and you want in on this movement, please head over to mrsmummyphd.com or scholarlymamas.com. If you want to do your PhD well without sacrificing yourself or those you love dearest, then you need your hands on all the ways that we can work together to transform your journey of scholarly motherhood from one of overwhelm, disillusionment and burnout to one of scholarly joy and purposeful success. Make sure you head over to mrsmummyphd.com. I'll leave a link in the show notes. I cannot wait to work with you. Remember, Mama, these are our journeys of becoming.